Good morning, lovely grade fours. Today we're going to learn some language that convicts use to be able to add into our writing this term. Today you're going to understand and use some convict language to create a historical context in your writing. What I'm looking for out of this lesson is that you can replace some words and sentences to use the convict language, and that you can create some sentences that sound like a convict might have used them. Part of using convict language is remembering that we're talking about two different types of people here. We're talking about people who had an education and people who didn't have an education. All of them would have spoken with an English accent, but the people who had an education, like the people who were in the military and the free people, would have been a lot more formal, whereas the convicts didn't really have much of an education, so their language would have been a lot more informal and probably not full grammatically correct sentences. So flash language was a made-up language where criminals could talk to each other without people who were listening in understanding it. Okay, on this slide you can see some things that they used to call convicts. So you might be a lifer, you might be a lag, you might be a bellowser, you might be a cockatoo. I think I'd like to be a cockatoo. You might be a sevener, or you might be a croppy. On this slide, these are names of people who would be in the gang. I really like the idea of being a nibbler or a sneaksman. I think that's pretty cool. I love that there's a difference between a male and a female pickpocket. Yeah, it's kind of cool. You can see where some of these words are still used. We still talk about scamps, but they're not necessarily a highwayman. On this slide, you can see that they also had different terms for people. I love the idea of calling my grandma a toddler. I don't think I'd like to be called a molisher though. I know that people still call people galoots. And these are words that you would use as a description. I love the idea of being a man who's in Swell Street. I love that married is swished. We still use somebody who runs away as a bolter. It makes sense that they would have lots of words for being punished in flash language. I like the idea of being taken into custody, having lots and lots of different ways of saying it, boned, nibbed, scurfed, pulled up. I'm sorry, but I am forever calling shoes hopper-dockers for the rest of my life. And don't be surprised if I ask you about your flesh bag, because I think that is the coolest word ever. This is a list of names of things. I can't work out why a bed would be called a dab, but I can see where a handcuffs would be called ruffles, because they'd be like jewellery around your wrist. I don't know why they would call money Stephen, but I love the idea of woolly birds. I think that is so cute. I can imagine having my yard full of woolly birds. Alright, so your job is to write 5 sentences using some of the flash language. I've had a go here. You might tell someone to give you all their money, or you'll shoot them with your gun, which I imagine is, "Oi, swell, give me all your Stephen, or I'll blast you with my stick." I've written another one. "That toddler has some fat woolly birds that I could nibble tonight. That elderly person has some fat sheep that I could steal tonight." See what you can do. See if you can make them funny. I've added some links to some other places that you might be able to go and have a look. The first one is an ABC education site, and it's about child convicts, and there's lots of little videos and bits of information that you can have a look at. I've put down there My Place for Teachers because it's got videos of the actors who are pretending to be convicts, and they're all kids, so that you might enjoy that. And then I've put down My Place for Kids. As you can imagine, I've been teaching forever, and My Place for Kids is something that my students have always really enjoyed. I have participated in an awful lot of peg races. See if you can get in there and play some of the games and see whether you like it.